Tangerine, Gunk, we're
And that's
back.
Gunk.
I'm back at Gunk.
You've been gunking.
So after we played the spotlight on the Gunk, I was like, I didn't even know this was an image and form game, and I really enjoyed the little brief snippet we did in Spotlight. I was like, this game is like 3-4 hours long. I was like, why don't I just play this game quickly? It's nice to have a little nice short little story game with some gunk cleaning in between, you know. And yeah, I really enjoyed this game. So if you haven't seen our spotlight on Gunk, basically the Gunk is a game where you go to we just played Hard Space Shipbreaker, another game where you live on a desolate Earth trying to find salvage.
Yeah.
Oh, I did encounter this bug where I got stuck quickly. I had to reset. Having a couple of there was like 1 or 2 bugs when I was playing through this. So I had to basically reset from the last checkpoint. And there was one point where the elevator I was supposed to stand on was invisible, and it was confusing the hell out of me. But anyway,
Very weird.
that was a game where it's like it's like you live in a capitalistic future where you have to go around salvaging everything. This game is a sci-fi game where you have to go around salvaging everything, and you're basically flying around looking for suitable planets to harvest from. And basically, you find this planet that has this gunk attacking it, and when you suck up the gunk, it like shows you the nature that was there, and there was this ancient civilization there. Sort of similar to games like, a little like, I don't know, in a lot of like immersive sim games, it's sort of like you're a detective in a lot of ways. Like you're going through the events of stuff that's already happened. Like you're trying to figure out how, because like in a lot of immersive, like say for example like Prey or Bioshock, it's like, oh, a bunch of people have died. You're trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
And there's other games that do that in a more like, what's the word? Like more relaxing, nice way. Like The Outer Wilds is a game where you're basically flying around just trying to figure out what happened to this ancient civilization. And the Gunk is very much like that. But peppered through this exploration, I would say the Gunk's almost like a Metroidvania game in a lot of ways. It has like light platforming and puzzle design in between.
Like, stuff is blocked off by.
You basically need to find upgrades in order to get through certain barriers that stop you, right?
Yeah.
And I think this sort of stuff is like image form bread and butter, because you look at the most successful games. The SteamWorld Dig series. I mean, I think SteamWorld Dig may be one of the most underrated Metroidvanias, while being probably one of the best Metroidvanias ever made. Like SteamWorld Dig 1 and 2 are fantastic. And I think them taking a risk and basically going, you know what, we're not going to make a game in the SteamWorld franchise, and we're just going to make something new with these like weirdly proportional, almost like chibi characters that are just exploring space. I really liked this game. I don't have much like bad stuff to say about Gunk. You essentially go around and you suck up this gunk with your infinite vacuum cleaner. We still don't know where the gunk goes. It's never explained.
Right.
And you're essentially just trying to reinvigorate this ancient civilization. You have like an upgrade crafting system. So you have to suck up materials, and then that lets you gain the ability to sprint, or you gain the ability to lay down traps to fight the little enemies that attack you and stuff like that. So there's like a crafting upgrade system, but it's not like there's never grinding. There's just a set amount of stuff that spawns, and if you explore more, you can unlock more stuff. It's basically like a collectible system. It's never done in like you need to get 100 ore to get this thing. It's not.
We just slow the player down.
It's not like done in a survival crafting way. It's more so done in like a here's a bonus collectible that you can grab if you want to get this other ability to help you in combat or platforming
Yeah.
or sucking up gunk.
Suck the gunk.
Mm.
Yeah, it's also a very good looking game as well. I think we mentioned that in the spotlight. We kind of enjoyed the look of it.
And I like the puzzle design because it's designed for people like me that are puzzly challenged.
Simple puzzle.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that. They make sense to me, and like I think Metroidvanias have a lot of puzzles, but the way Metroidvanias design puzzles is you always know the answer because the game teaches you the solution through gameplay. That's the sort of thing I love about Metroidvania games is it's never like, oh, here's what's 2,000 times a billion divided by 6.7. It's not like you need to know the rhythm of music in order to play back a tune. Oh, for this puzzle you need to know the Fibonacci sequence. It's not like, it's like, here, if you shoot these purple walls, you can destroy purple walls now. And then it gives you a puzzle, and it's like, oh, there's a purple wall over there. I know that I can now shoot purple walls because the game has taught me. It's like the best tutorials in games are ones you don't know you're going through. And
yeah, absolutely. Like organic.
And I think,
environmental puzzles.
like to that point, like, you get these explosive fruits that let you blow up salvage. Like, Souls games are almost like Metroidvania games in certain ways as well. Like it's a very loose term, which is why I'm throwing it around for this, because it's not like a conventional Metroidvania game, I would say this one. There isn't really that many 3D Metroidvania games out there. They're mostly 2D platformers. And like especially the SteamWorld games they made before are 2D. Apparently like the new SteamWorld Build game they put out didn't do too well. We did a spotlight on that.
Oh, yeah.
And it came out on Games
Dungeon
Pass.
Keeper Anno game.
Yeah. And I thought it was pretty good. But like apparently their publisher Thunderful was like, oh, this underperformed of what we were wanting. So maybe the image form, risk-taking thing of being like, we're just going to publish a game in a completely different genre every time. Or even with the Gunk, they were like, we're not even going to set it in the SteamWorld universe anymore, which is what they've been doing up to this point with all their games.
Yeah.
It was a risk, but I thought it paid off. Like, different people have different opinions on the length of video games, but I think at 4 hours, this was a perfectly good length for a video game.
I think it depends on the price, but I think it's good for like if ignoring saying the price is definitely worth it. I think that's a good length for a story experience.
Like I played this on Games Pass, so I didn't feel like I spent a bunch of money on it, and I only like 4 hours long. But I think what a lot of people forget about for shorter games, because the other game I'm going to talk about is a shorter game as well. With shorter games, you're getting less game per se. But have you, Tony, let me ask you this question. Have you ever played a game and you've sat there and gone, how many chapters are left of this game? Like, you're almost like wondering when the game is going to end. I've had it several games where I've gone, I'm kind of done with this game. How much longer, how much more of the game is left?
I think, I think, I guess like it's kind of connected to pacing, but it's not quite the same thing, because like it does matter like how something ends or how the full journey is completed for sure. But I think I think with these short games, like I think it is like more of a like comparing it to a movie might make more sense, right? I don't know, different games for different play styles, I suppose. But there's definitely been games where like they're quite long, but I'm like, oh, I kind of wanted to keep going. Like Dragon Age Origins is like one of the games that's like, I think it's to be honest, early like those sort of massive those BioWare games from that sort of period are all kind of like that, like 20, 22, 24 hours like long of you try and do all the side stories, and it's like all good basically, and like a few like mechanical annoyances. Like so something like that is like, oh, I can keep playing that. Yeah. I think it does depend, because like a Ubisoft game, it's like how much of that is just crap. Like,
Ubisoft is my prime target for games I want to avoid usually. I mean, It's just
Yeah.
they felt that it's like this game is 50 hours long, and it's like, well, how
Yeah.
much of that is actual gameplay I want
How-
to engage with, and how much is just
Yeah.
filler? And it's like, well, it's 90%
my-
filler, and it's like, well, no, thank you
Yeah.
then.
I think my question is like how much time is there that is good, and how well paced is that? And like,
Yeah.
and if those two are good, it's like I don't
Yeah.
think it, to me anyway, it doesn't matter how long it is.
These two games, like the Gunk and Turnip Boy Robs a Bank, they're very well paced games.
Mm-hmm.
I was constantly engaged and was like,
Definitely
okay,
advantage of short games.
like they introduce a mechanic and they're like, okay, now I'm like, okay, I get this mechanic, I'm done with it. It's like, okay, here's the next thing. Like having good pacing in a game is more important than length, in my opinion. Like I would much rather have.
I don't think that's always the case, but I can appreciate that opinion.
So you would rather have a longer game than a better paced game?
Well, like if no, okay, I'm thinking of a game like as a counter example. It's like there's good mechanics, or there's like a good gameplay like you're enjoying, right? But then like half a mission you don't like it, but then like immediately after it's like back to being like really really good. I would argue that breaks the pacing completely.
I mean, there is games,
but I would still enjoy that game.
Like there's games that I've enjoyed that I wish were longer, like Boomerang X.
Yeah.
I fucking adore that game.
Yeah.
But it's like half an hour long, and then it's like, oh, the game's over, and it's like, oh shit, I want more of that.
I guess it's a concept of like a game concept / idea that like how long does it overstays its welcome? Like it could be like the greatest
if a game
idea ever, but there's only like so much
should,
time you can have before it's annoying.
I think the problem with gameplay length is the game should end when you're finished with it, and that's always different between different people.
Yes.
So certain people are gonna be like, like I was playing Power World, and I was like, oh, there's the Elite Four I can fight, and I can kill every boss, and I haven't captured every pal, but I was like, but I'm finished with the game. Like I don't want to play anymore. Like I'm ready to play something else.
I think more people should do that. I know like not everyone has like a great expensive game they have access to. Either they can't afford like Game Pass or
not everyone is like me and owns Games Pass and 1,000 games on Steam.
Yeah.
So
but if you do have a lot of games, I think it is worth thinking like, why are you playing a game? Like you don't have to complete a game. Like that's not. You don't need to do that. There are other games you'd be playing.
Sometimes people forget why they're playing games. I'm like,
yes.
They're like, I have to complete this, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, because I started.
You're playing it for fun. You're playing it for fun. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, play a game for fun. If you stop having fun, stop playing the game.
If you're having fun with completing it, like all the power to you. But like, if you're not,
and I can understand the fun in overcoming a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then again, you got to make sure that challenge is
also
worth overcoming.
Yes. And it's a different question for like, different people for sure. But I think the thing with short games is like they can never overstay their welcome because they're so short, and they have like this superpower of having great pacing.
Oh, I think you can overstay your welcome as a short game. I think you can have like a really poorly paced, like
really annoying mechanic,
4 hour long, or like not a great game. Yeah. Like I'm much more.
I'm not like those games that shouldn't be made at all, but yeah. Like
there is short games that I haven't enjoyed, but I haven't necessarily been the biggest fan of. But I've said, okay, at least it's not like super. At least I didn't waste so much of my time. Like I played Firewatch, and I wasn't. There's a lot I liked about Firewatch, but I didn't love that game. But I really was like, you know what? It was like 3 or 4 hours long. Like it really didn't rob me of a lot of time.
I could see it being really strong, like narrative, like for certain people though. Like, I could see that being like a really good length.
Like just because the game didn't connect with me doesn't mean it's not going to connect with it. Like my brother adored that game, and he basically after he played the game, he got all of his photos printed out on like a little candid camera thing. Every photo, because you take photos in the game with like a what are those old cameras called? Polaroid camera, and then you can get them developed afterwards, which I think is quite cool. And he showed them to me, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But yeah, so yeah, I think it goes both ways with short games. Like,
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I played and I finished Gunk, and I think it is like it's a short and sweet little story. And I would highly recommend it to anyone, especially if you have Games Pass.
That's a good.
Your main gameplay is going to be running around, short combat sections, short platforming sections, and it's mostly just a 3D platformer solving puzzles by using the environment,
exploring the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's
gathering
something to be said
materials
about
along the
exploring.
way, and just
Yeah.
upgrading your gear.
Good linear experience, I
Yeah.
suppose.
But
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah,
Gunk.
it looks really good. Yeah.
And if you have Games Pass, check it out on there because it is on there. And the next game that was on Games Pass is a game that came out this year. I'm going to skip ahead a bit because this is dialogue. I think the tutorial. This is Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. So a short game I played last year was called Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion. And basically, it was a short little Zelda sort of puzzle game, I would say. It was very much like a long like fetch quest with like sort of like Zelda dungeon puzzle design sort of thing.
Okay.
Which I believe I played. It was like free on Amazon Games Pass or something like that. I played it on, I think.
Is that Voltorb? Why is there a Pokemon in this game?
A Pokemon, yeah. No, I played it. Did I play it on? No, I played it on Steam. Okay. I think I owned it on both. Anyway.
Right.
But yeah, that game took me 2.8 hours to complete, the first game. So that, again, another short game.
It's very short. Yep.
But the main...
movies.
That was like a very like short, simple, like you go around, you talk to characters, you go on sort of like a fetch quest adventure. And then it had like light combat mechanics at some point, but they weren't very good in my opinion, the combat mechanics. It felt a bit like there was a roguelike like sort of endless mode at the end, which I played once and was like, I don't want to play that again, that's okay. But yeah, I enjoyed that game. This game comes out, and this time, instead of being like a Zelda-esque like a story game, it's like a linear roguelike shooter where you run in and rob a bank, you grab as much money as possible before the timer runs out, and then you go back to base and you get upgrades. But it has it's sort of more similar to a game like Hades, where there's a story and there's an overall progression as you do these runs.
Each time you're doing it, the run actually progresses the story. So
yes.
It's something, right?
And it turns out to be this like really fun, fulfilling experience.
Okay.
Where it's like, oh, I need to get into this part of the vault. To get into this part of the vault, I need a laser pointer. So you grab a bunch of money, and you get the laser pointer, and then you can get into here from the dark web. And it's like, oh, now I've got that from that run. But then you're like, oh, to get past these diamond statues, I need a pickaxe. So then you go to the dark web, and you grind enough money to get the pickaxe, and then that unlocks a new area of the map. And then in the new area of the map,
like Metroidvania puzzle solving with like roguelites buying up stuff.
Yeah, it's almost, this game is almost like a Metroidvania as well. Yeah, it is interesting.
That's interesting.
But as you progress, more and more, you buy upgrades to your character, which let you carry more money. You can like take weapons out and recycle them to unlock new weapons to use, and you can pick up weapons. Also, the soundtrack to this game is a fucking banger. I've got like multiple songs on my soundtrack playlist. Like the first game has some really good tracks as well, like Dusty's Reprise and stuff like that. But a lot of tracks on the new soundtrack are like, I think they like pumped up the music, made like higher tempo for the more intense gameplay. I think they took everything I loved about the first game and were like, let's make a really like funny, silly story about tax evasion. It's like, well, let's do that again, but then let's do it about robbing a bank, but then let's actually focus on making the actual like combat gameplay really tight, and it just turns it into like a really great game.
That makes sense.
I should say, like, for the Gunk, before I give it 4 stars on my initial rating on my
out of 5
backlogged website out of 5, Turnip Boys Robs a Bank I gave 4.5 stars, and I was immediately like, I don't know. I was thinking potentially this is a 5-star, and like immediately Turnip Boy, because this came out like right at the start of this year, like I think January, February time. I can't remember the actual. I think January it came out, like right at the end of January, and immediately I was like, "Oh, this is immediately a front runner for Game of the Year." Like I already have a couple of titles now, but the cool thing about Games Pass is it allows me to play games that are current. So it's like, I may have checked this game out like in a couple of years when it was on sale on Steam, but because it was on Games Pass, I was like, well, I'll just check it out now. There's no barrier to entry past that point. Oh, so these are like the statues that I need the pickaxe for in order to get into.
Oh, they're blocking your path there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got 22 seconds to get. So does it just end when the?
No. So the way it works is after the timer runs out, it starts sending SWAT units in, which are quite powerful, to try and kill you. And if you die, you lose some of the money. Like you lose a percentage of the money that you got.
Yeah.
Oh, banger alert! I think the whole soundtrack's really good. And then eventually, because I tested out, I was like, what happens if you just keep fighting the SWAT for money? Eventually, the bank owner just drops a bunch of poisonous gas in there, so that just kills you slowly over time. So like, there is a set point where you have to leave. Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, you keep doing these upgrades in order to get new items, more money. You get more powerful. The game gets more ridiculous. There's boss fights. There's even Tony, I shit you not, there's a point where you're fighting a boss and he starts using like soap cutting TikToks to try and distract you. Like that's an actual thing that happens in this game.
That's so funny. Okay.
Like this game does get like sort of fucking ridiculous. But it respects your time. I think it took me 3.5 hours to finish the game. Like I could have finished the game in one sitting. But I think I played it over 2 nights. I streamed it to some friends. I think it's just it reminds me of like going from playing Pony Island to Inscription to the Hex from Daniel Mullins. They took a great idea and they just improved on everything. It's really great to see a dev improve on their craft. And I think Turnip Boy robs a bank just proves how much you can improve if you keep working on something. This game is phenomenal, and I think there's like a huge progression between the first game and the second game.
It's kind of like how old games like used to work, right? Like you have smaller games back in the day used to like the sequel came out and it's just improved everything.
Well, the group's called it's called Snoozy Kazoo. I was about to say Snazzy Kazoo, but I guess they
Snazzy
changed that around. So I'm going to grab the pickaxe. But yeah, I don't know. And there might be a small indie team, but it's like I think you can see a lot more changes with like smaller teams. So with like a Daniel Mullins, obviously that's one person sort of thing. But I think when you have these big teams of multiple people, it's harder to see the changes of individuals.
Yeah. And they're locked in from like a big plan as well, so that they can't be as
But that's the beauty of indie games is you have so much control over everything.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I need to ask 50 other people if I can do this, and it's like, oh, I want to put this song in the soundtrack. Okay, I'm going to do it. That's the first person I ask, and that's the last person I ask.
Yeah.
But yeah,
can I get a license? That's really to us.
In Turnip Boy fashion, the plot starts very simple and immediately divulges into something ridiculous very quickly. And again, the game is super well paced. It got to that like 3 or 4 hour mark. I was like, oh, I'm ready for the game to end, and the game ends. And it's like, oh, okay. Like it could have been longer. I think there was potential to add more, but I was like, no, that was a good length for a game. I think they genuinely, they had a vision. They were like, it reminds me of, there's a show I love called Mr. Robot. And the guy making it, I think is it Sam Esmail? Is the guy who makes it? Yeah. I believe. And basically, he was doing it for this program network called like, is it called like Star, or it was basically like it wasn't one of the big networks, and they were saying, "Hey, we have the rights to this." He said, "I want to make season 4 the final season," and they were like, "We're getting a lot of people coming in and watching it. Can we extend this out? Can we turn season 4 into a season 4 and a 5 so we can extend the story out?" And he basically went, "No."
Yeah.
He was basically like, "I wrote the story to be 4 seasons. The story ends at season 4."
Yeah.
He was like, "I'm not going to drag this out. This is the length I want it to be." And I was like, "That is so strong principles," and I really respect that sort of thing. And I think
if you haven't got any more content to put in, there's no point dragging it out.
But sometimes that's what a lot of like modern games do. They're like, how do we artificially make this thing longer? It's like, and it's not, and it's almost never in the interest of the player. It's in the interest of making more money.
Yeah, it's definitely bankrupt, artistically bankrupt at the very least. And it's nice. Yeah, it's nice to see when they can. They can hold to their morals and hold to their principles.
But yeah, please do not sleep on Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. It is a great little experience, and I highly recommend it to everyone. It's on Game Pass. I want to call it Games Pass, but I don't know if you know this, but it's actually called Game Pass, despite having multiple games on it.
It's such a dumb name because it's just Xbox Games Pass.
Oh, here's one of the side quests. I have to grab a giant crayon and deface all the images of the staff there.
Oh, it replaces the weapon slot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You can take out that crayon and you can recycle it, and you can get new weapons. Like,
okay.
There's actually a little bit of like hidden depth to this game as well when it comes to the weapons, and there's these random rooms you can find that will let you. There's like the weapon box from Call of Duty Zombies, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And there's this whole side quest where you can buy a. Yes, there actually is a ray gun. Nice. There's a lot of references to different pop culture stuff, and there's this whole side quest where you can get a scythe that will let you harvest people's souls, and then you can sell them to unlock new music tracks to listen to. Like, there's so much like great little stuff in this game, and you'll experience it. Just playing. I think it took me 3.5 hours to complete this game. Like 100% complete it. Like I finished everything in 3.5 hours.
And it's just fun to do all that.
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds good.
Like I knew immediately going into it, I was like, I'm going to 100% this. But I like how because the game asks you if you've played the first game before, which I guess maybe changes some of the dialogue. Because I had played the first game, and it's like, oh, how hard can this guy be? Like in the previous game, you killed a god. So, but yeah, I think shorter games are good. And another game we've already talked about briefly because we did a Tangerine on the Next Fest. So it's good to see a game I really enjoyed playing in Next Fest, and I've gone on to play the full game now, and I really enjoyed it as well. So yeah.
Yeah,
check out the Gunk and Turnip Boy Robs a Bank. They're both on Games Pass, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.